Hello and welcome back to another gate private practice video. Today I'm very excited for the guest that we have today. And as always, I totally forgot to introduce myself. So I am Dr. Elizabeth Sanchez-Arisu from Psychology for Geeks. And today we are going to be talking about all things geeky. So today I have a very amazing guest. I am so happy I could get this interview to do. And for the next hour or so, we're just going to be geeking out. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I am Lisa Pryor. I am located in basically a subdivision of Salt Lake City, Utah. And my private practice is called Pop Culture Counseling.
And that's how I found you. I found you and I was like, okay, follow immediately. And then you started posting things and I was like, yes, I like those. I like those. So I was like, hey, you want to do a collaborative class? We can just geek out about cool things and hang out for a little bit. So I see you have, I want to say like the original like posters of Harry Potter in the back.
Yes. So I am currently at home. And my basement is decorated in Harry Potter. So behind me, these are the first 6 posters. The 7 posters, because they're bigger, are on another wall. But I have bookcases with the illustrated editions. I have like a Howler prop. I have Funko Pops. We're currently working on all of our Harry Potter Lego sets that we've been buying over the years when my basement wasn't quite ready to set up. I have a bedroom that is decorated in Gryffindor common room with curtains and everything on the bed. So it's a 4-poster bed, has star curtains. It even has a fat lady poster.
Oh, awesome.
So common room.
I was like, okay, I love like doing these interviews because not only do I get to geek out, but I learn so much about different fandoms and how you apply it in your own practice. And I love hearing, I think just in general, I love stories. So I love asking people about like, okay, what's your origin story for things? I like doing those. But I'm also like, I'm also really curious what the offices look like. And I'm like, I'm going to do another series where I'm just going to be like, hey, send me videos what your office looks like. So then we can all geek out together because I bet you all have like really amazing collectibles and stuff that we would just love to see.
You could call it therapy cribs as a shout out to like MTV in the 90s.
Okay, wait. Before we get to the geeking out, which we did, let's hear your origin story. How did you get sort of introduced to the world of geek culture?
That is interesting because each of my fandoms came into my life at different times. So like Harry Potter, I remember the first time I picked up a Harry Potter book and it was my little sister's. And I was just like, this doesn't sound any good. I don't like, what is this? And then I met my husband and he was into Harry Potter. It was something he did with his aunt. They went to midnight releases and I was like, whatever, I'll give it a shot. And I was hooked. I read all the books. I listen to the audiobooks. I have to sleep with sound. So like for, I don't know, a year and a half, we just had the audiobooks playing at night because my brain needs sound to sleep. And so now I have a basement that is decorated in Harry Potter with Harry Potter vinyl. And yeah, and we all know houses and we have the cosplays and we have wands. And so yeah, it was something that like me and my husband just both enjoy. And then it turned into, I know how I can turn this into therapy. Like I know how I can use this in therapy using just the themes from Harry Potter. Disney goes a little deeper. I remember when I was younger, my parents divorced when I was 8, and my dad would always take me to the new Disney movie. The first one I remember seeing in theaters was Beauty and the Beast, so that kind of dates me a little. I was a child of the Renaissance. But I remember the one that I very vividly remember was sitting in a theater watching The Hunchback of Notre Dame and seeing the song God Bless the Outcasts and Esmeralda singing it and the sun coming through the stained glass. And I was just like, oh, this is a song for me. because I wasn't very like I wasn't popular. No, like I didn't have a whole lot of friends. I was like, this is me. I'm the outcast. And so I bought every time a movie came out, I would memorize the soundtrack. I did not go to a park until my honeymoon. Uh, and then when you have adult money, you spend adult money on things you didn't get to buy as a child. So my house, the main story of my house is decorated in Disney. I have Disney memorabilia. I have pictures of Mickey scuba diving in Epcot. I have needlework that I have made. I have my pets drawn as Disney characters. There's a girl on Instagram, and I think it's like Disneyfy your pets or something along those lines. And she does a raffle every month to enter to win to or draw your pets as Disney characters, and I won. And that was right after we got our new kitten, so I was super excited because our new kitten was going to come home in like 2 weeks, and I was like, sweet. So yeah, my kitchen is painted in Mickey colors. I have red walls, black cabinets, yellow door, white trim. My dishes are Mickey colors. Like, it's bad.
That's so cool. Okay, yes, I have to agree with you. When you have adult money, you spend adult money on things that you wish you had. And yeah, I have all my Loki collection over there. I cannot say that. Okay, so I get very how do I say this nicely? Obsessed with fandoms, and then I go down a rabbit hole. So in order for me to be able to afford rent and food, I kind of have to limit myself as to how much I can buy and what I can buy. So I've sort of like limited to the characters or the fandoms that I absolutely love. Um and just like my favorite characters that like those will forever be my favorite characters, and that's what I have. But like my collection is like slowly growing, and I'm like, I need a bigger space. I need more bookshelves. I need more books. There comes a time when we have to go out into the world where people are not part of the geek culture, or they don't fully understand what it's like to be a fan. It sounds like you found someone who shared, or they somehow roped you into their fandoms.
He roped me into his, and I roped him into mine. Like, he likes Disney, but he can't tell you the successions of CEOs.
uh, so it's sort of like this for a lot of us. It's, I think, like this safe space where we get to enjoy the things that we love. We do all the research, plan all the trips, spend all the money, decorate the house, and all those things. um is this something that you kind of had to become comfortable with, uh letting other people know that this is what you were interested in?
A little, yeah. I actually tell this story when I'm talking to my clients about them being able to embrace what they love and not caring what other people think.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in my master's program, I had
Mm-hmm.
this teacher who pulled me aside because I had a Disney purse. It was Mickey paint splatters, and I had a Disney hoodie that had Mickey ears on it. And he basically pulled me aside and said, "You can't be a therapist and Disney." And I was just like, "Yes, I can. I can do this. I just haven't. I'm gonna show you." And so we had a client come through our clinic at school, because we
Mm-hmm.
all had to do a term in the clinic at school so we could be observed. And this client brought Build-A-Bears to sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And this client brought, did Legos as a way of relaxing, and was part of the geek culture. I can't remember what her fandom was. I'm pretty sure it was Disney. And we would just sit and talk about how it helped her anxiety and how planning a trip is stressful for other people, but she actually goes down that rabbit hole, and she's like, "What do you mean it's been 5 hours? I didn't realize I was on the website that long." And it was her and my internship working with adolescents at a residential facility. And the first kid I counseled who was into Harry Potter, like, let me know that no, there are people out there who understand this and who need it and don't need that box therapist that fits into that professional clothing, professional mold. Here's a nice ocean scene on my wall. No offense to anyone who has ocean scenes on their walls in their offices. I totally understand that too, because I've had offices that were decorated like that before I took free reign. And so, yeah, it took a lot for me to be like, nope, this is who I am and this is what I'm doing. And if I don't fit as your therapist, cool. There will be plenty of other people who I fit with.
I think this is something that I never really understood until I was sort of placed in a similar position. Um, I knew I like working with kiddos and teens. In school, I was told, well, it's better if you have a broad sort of experience. I started working with adults as well, different settings and all that stuff. And I like that as well. And I think around that time, I took a class that was sort of like, hey, you can actually do this in therapy. And I was like, no way. And then like I had that and I was like, I could do it. And with kiddos, it's a lot easier because play therapy, you kind of have to talk about the things that they're interested in and stuff. And so with kiddos, I would do it all the time. But with adults, I was a lot more hesitant to even bring it up or like say anything at first. And it wasn't until I was doing my internship that I was discussing this with the supervisor because I wanted to sort of like understand it more. We were talking about social media and whether it was a good thing or a bad thing, and whether as professionals should we be involved in that or not, right? And we sort of like had a different stance just based on personalities and stuff. He wasn't saying don't do it like your professor was, but he was kind of like he just personally didn't do it, but he just wanted me to be careful and not like overshare or whatever, or like for it to in some way sort of like interfere with the therapy. But there was I was a part of a meeting that year when someone said, well, it's just they were like very like, their hair was like really bright colors and they were wearing like really cool fashionable outfits. None of it was professional. So I was like, oh, she's so cool. And she said like, yeah, I mean, I talk about it with my clients, like it's not for everyone, but she basically was saying what you said, like there's people out there that will want to work with her, and that was fine if people didn't want to work with her. And I was like, wait a minute, that's a thing? Like I just always thought that I had to work with everyone, right? That I had to somehow be able to be the therapist everyone needed, right? And at that time I was like, wait, this is an option. I can just be myself and like clients will come and like there will be like essentially like an audience for that. And that's when I started sort of like thinking about integrating a lot more. And even now with adults, yesterday I met with someone new, a new teen, and they were rather shy, so I only do telehealth, so they didn't want to turn the camera on. And I was like, whatever makes you feel comfortable, whatever. We're talking, I was doing the intake or whatever. I always ask about hobbies because that is the easiest way for me to encourage them to do self-care, and also because it lets me know whether they're part of the geek culture or not.
Yeah.
And this teen's hobby was building miniature homes, and I automatically lost it. I was like, oh my gosh, no, you don't. That's so cool. I love those things. And I was like, and it just went off on this rant about how I seen something on Pinterest or like, oh no, in TikTok, and I really wanted it, but they were so expensive. And then I just like, I just basically I just did that, right? And she was like, oh wait, I think I have something here. And it got quiet for a while, and then she actually turned on the camera and showed me her stuff. And I was like, yes, hobbies were the win. Because I was like, yeah. And I was like, that was the first, like I wasn't even like, because the camera was still off. After a while, after showing me the Lego thing, like she turned it off. And we continued talking, but I could tell that she was a lot more involved in the conversation. She wasn't as hesitant. She kept giggling about things that, like when I was being silly or whatever. So it like immediately changed into like comfort. Like, this is my comfort zone. Like, you kind of understand. And I have seen that so many times with adults. Anytime I say, oh, really, no way you do that, or like how did you do that? Like immediately, like kids are like, let me tell you, right? And like the
Yeah.
biggest screen like in their face, and then they're like, I'll show you everything. And even adults too, they're like, oh, okay, you understand. And even we might not even bring it up at all anymore, but it's there's still that instant connection of like, oh, you're kind of like me, you can understand what I'm going through. So that's sort of like the more I do this, the more I'm like, yep, I'm going to continue doing this.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot different in the late 90s, early 2000s. I was working as an RA at my first college because at one point I did drop out of college and stopped going for a while and then went back. But I remember I was working the night that the Friends finale aired on TV, and
Mm-hmm.
there was a very specific do not knock on doors that night. Like it is something that all of the residents had asked for. They were all having viewing parties in their dorms, and it was do not bother us between this time and this time. There is no knocking. There is no nothing. The Friends finale is on, and that's the beautiful thing about pop culture is that we can all share in that moment. Like it's a lot different now that like you can binge watch something in a day if you have the time.
True.
You can sit and watch an entire season of a show, and that's, some people like that because then it's cool. I don't have to wait. I can move on. But that was the thing before streaming services when Netflix was DVDs. And once again, I'm aging myself. Um, that you had to sit there and you had to be present, or you had to turn on, your recorder to record these things and then hopefully watch it before you went to work, you went back to school because everyone was talking about it. And you had to feel included in that conversation. And I had maybe watched a couple episodes of Friends, and I was like, "Good for you guys. You guys have fun." I'm like, I I know who the people are. I can tell you the names, but I'm not like, shh, everyone quiet.
I feel like that sometimes with what I call adult shows, which is just real people shows. Because
Yeah,
I think for like the past 2 years, I just been on this sort of like anime track. So I just been watching a lot of anime and animated stuff. And then sometimes people are like, you should watch this real people show. And I'm like, yeah, real people shows come with like serious emotions. And I'm like, I'm not there yet. I don't really want to think about serious topics or emotions. I'm good. Um, but yeah, okay. I totally understand the whole like part of me is that like I can see why you and your husband sort of like roped each other into like your fandoms, because it's hard not to fall into that trap because it's a trap, because then you can never leave. My friends, I remember the first few times that we went to the San Diego Comic-Con, they were watching Supernatural, and I knew the names. I was on Pinterest and Tumblr before then, so I knew I could see like the funny bits and stuff. And sometimes I would go on YouTube and see like the funny parts or whatever, or like the behind the scenes things that were always hilarious. But I never watched the show, and by the time I started going to Comic Con, I think they were already probably like the last 3 seasons is what I was able to catch. But their panels were always hilarious. So my friends were like, come join us. And I was like, sure, I'll go. And I was like, not even part of the fandom. I didn't really understand the storyline or anything like that. But it was just such a fun place to be, with everyone geeking out about the things and everybody's being super excited about it. And of course, I knew the song. What is it? Carry On My Wayward Son. That's like
yeah.
their theme song or whatever. And I don't think I will ever forget this moment. We were in the San Diego Comic Con, like Hall H, and everything went dark, and then the music started playing, and they had actually flew in the band to play that song, and everybody went nuts. And even me, I was like, I'm not even part of this fandom, and I know the song, and I know how much it means to people, and I loved it. It was amazing. It was just sort of this weird experience, and I think that's one of the few things that completely sold me on how important it is for us to be able to have that community, to be able to be part of fandoms in such a way so we can go to cons and geek out with people, meet new people, get merch because we
Yeah.
need merch. Our houses need to be decorated somehow, and therefore merch is needed. And so that's one of the things I'm sort of like trying to do with my nonprofit, because I live in a place where it's very rural, very small. I am pretty sure my fellow geeks and nerds are out there, but we're not sort of like showing it, or being out there. I saw someone wearing a t-shirt of like this anime character, and I just immediately got super excited as soon as I saw it, and I immediately wanted to go to the person, start talking, and I was like, what if they're not even a fan? What if they're just wearing the shirt and they don't know what I'm talking about? I'm gonna come across a weirdo. And I was like, I don't want to interrupt. So I ended up like chickening out on not saying anything. But I seen posts of people like, if I'm wearing something that of a fandom that you love, feel free to come and talk to me, because I also love the fandom. And I kind of have that mentality too. I'm like, but I don't think everybody does. But it's so cool. I mean, that's why I love going to Disney and like cons, because then you can just go up to anybody and be like, oh my gosh, you love the same character I do, or I love your dress, or it's in this, like you can just talk to people, and it's this sort of like amazing atmosphere.
Yeah. Usually, what happens, so like Salt Lake has their own Comic-Con. It's called FanX. Shout out to FanX. Free tickets would be lovely.
Yes.
Yes. So we have a FanX, and we get pretty big people. This year we have like some Little House on the Prairie people coming. We have a lot of people from The Good Place coming. So like not Chidi, not Jason. The girl. Not Kristen Bell, the other girl. I can't remember her name. But I've watched The Good Place so many times, and I feel bad that I'm forgetting her name.
I'm horrible with names, so no judgment on my part.
And then one of the girls who played like one of the main demons in the show, she's coming, and like we usually wait and watch to see who's coming before we decide if we're going to buy tickets. But I was working one year, and because I worked for a bookstore in my bachelor's and master's program before my internship, I worked at a bookstore. And one year I saw that Grant Wilson from Ghost Hunters was there, and I was like, I have to go meet him. And I walked up to him and I was like, oh my God, you're a real person. And he goes, yes, I am. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that to him. But it was like, me and my husband have paid to meet Tara Strong, and she has voiced everything. So we have a picture of Tara Strong in a frame of Twilight Sparkle, because we're bronies also. And so like we have her picture signed in a frame. I have met Robert Englund, and he's Freddy Krueger, and we refer to him as my boyfriend. And when I talked to him, I told him the story of my dad like running his fingers across my door when I was like 7 and trying to scare me, telling me Freddy was coming for me. And he goes, that's most of my fan base now, is adult women whose brothers and dads scared them.
Just traumatized people trying to heal their inner child.
We're just trying to heal our inner child. And so we watch the Freddy Krueger movies. Like, I can sleep to horror movies. There's something about it that's calming for my anxiety, because I know that's not real. I know that, yes, cabin fever is a thing, but I know my husband's not going to go psychotic and bust through a door with an axe. Hopefully. Like, but like, I know Freddy Krueger's not real. And so, yes, the disorder that Wes Craven based, Nightmare on Elm Street off of is real, but the person who's in your dreams isn't real. So like, it's comforting, because that is irrational anxiety of, oh my gosh, someone's coming to get me. But like the strangers, that's based off the Manson family invasion. So like that could really happen. And so you just have to kind of go with, okay, like this is real, this is not real. And I use those movies with my clients sometimes to be like, okay, irrational fears versus non-rational fears. Like what? Like, home invasions could happen. Alien abductions, some people are on the fence.
I'm on the fence about anything horror because so part of me is like because it's not necessarily like the gore, the violence, because I watch History's Vikings, and that's bad. I think it's more to because I think okay, again, I love stories, right? So then at one point I was like, I really want to watch this movie, but I'm scared. Because I think the thing that scares me the most, other than spiders, is ghost. Because someone who's coming at you with like an axe, you can run away, you can hit him, you can hide, whatever, right? What are you gonna do from a ghost? You can't. There's nothing. You're done for. Like that ghost will haunt you forever, right? So in my head, I was like, no, that's like a different level of like fear for me. So I was like, yeah, I don't like that. But then I saw a clip, I think, of somebody talking about this was years ago when that movie Helen Mirren was in it, that house here in California. What's it called? The wood wait the Winchester House.
Winchester House. I was like,
yeah. Yeah, and so I was like, wait, so what happens in the movie? And I was like, I'm not gonna watch the movie, that's scary, because then like the descriptions are like it's kind of scary, and I was like, oh, let's go in there, and no, I don't watch it. And then I was like, oh, what do I do? And then so I was telling my brother, I always go, I'm like, listen, I have a proposal, we watch a movie. And he's like, what are we gonna watch? This scary movie that I don't want to watch by myself. And he's like, no. And I'm like, but I don't want to watch it by myself. He's like, no, I don't want to watch a scary movie, or like I'm not interested in that movie or whatever. And then I'm like, but I want to know what happens. And then he brilliantly said, why don't you just watch a YouTube video on it? And I was like, wait, what? That's the thing you can do. And then I was like, no way. Because I had, by that point, I had already researched like the actual house and like the history behind it and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, this is cool. I just want to know like what the movie says, right? And then so I ended up finding a video that was like half an hour long that like went through the whole story and showed like little clips and stuff of the movie. And I was like, all right, I'm satisfied. Half an hour. I didn't have to scare myself. This is good. But again, it was sort of like the story that I was like, I'm just curious. I just want to know what happens. Like, you know, what's going on in like, or how did they spin it in the movie? So sometimes I hear my brother's friend talking about, I think it's Friday the 13th or something like that. Or
Jason with the hockey mask.
Sure. He was confusing on the other guy with the hands.
That's Freddy Krueger. Freddy has the hands.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The hockey mask.
Yeah, I was like, they kind of like the same to me. So they talk about the story, and I was like, whoa, this is actually good. But also like, I don't know. Maybe I just like already like scared myself out of like watching them or whatever. But maybe at one point I'll go and watch them in the morning, of course.
Oh yeah,
followed by like 2 or 3 Disney movies to make me.
Oh yeah, that's
yeah, just to see what it's like. Because then I was like, maybe when I was younger, I wasn't like at the stage where like I could find comfort or like I would enjoy things like that. But maybe now I would. I don't know. Still on the fence whether or not I want to watch that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, because my dad had me watch Chucky when I was 5, and I didn't grow up with dolls.
Listen. Those things are creepy, and I think that was the things that when I was a child, that was the scariest thing, because I had seen it, and then I read the book. I think it was one of the Goosebumps. Yeah, like the one with the doll that never dies, and that was terrifying. They tried everything to kill that doll, and it wouldn't die. That's the only book I remember reading. I think it was like middle school when I read it, and then after that, I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna stick to like other books. Not this kind of books. So then like I stopped. But yeah, I don't know. But nowadays, again, like I said, not as terrifying as I thought it was. No, you know which movie as a child I thought was terrifying?
Blanca, I'm guessing.
No. Wait, Jumanji.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then I was telling my brother, I was like, we should watch it, because I've seen like the newer ones. That came out, and they were hilarious, and I was like, wait, I thought they were supposed to be scary, right? And I couldn't remember, because I was like really young when I watched it. And then so I went back to watch it, and I was like, this isn't actually scary. But every time the drums came on, I was like, no, it is scary.
It is scary. And now they sell the actual board game.
Oh no, I bought it. It's so fun. Have you played it?
I have not.
It is so fun. I got it a few years ago and I played it a few times with my siblings, and it's like one of these things where it's kind of like anxiety inducing because you know what? We should play with the drum music in the background. That would be like that would really be scary. Then no, because it does this thing where like you have about like a minute to roll the dice in a specific way, otherwise you guys get trapped, or like you're closer, like to staying stuck in the game or whatever. So then you're just kind of like rolling, and you're like, oh my, and then because everybody has to get it, or otherwise like you put a card down or whatever. So it's like this whole thing, and like the whole time you're like, oh my gosh, okay, this is better. And then like the you know how the board game will say everything in like rhymes and stuff, that yeah, like it just, the cards are like that too, and it's really cool, and it kind of reminds me of like that fear that I had as a child. And I'm like, it's not even a scary movie, but just hearing the drums play, I was like, that's scary.
Oh yeah. That's the beautiful thing about like songs and like those musical cues from movies, is that you still remember, like, there are all those memes that go around that says you can't hear a picture, and then it has the sunrise from the Lion King, and everyone knows what that sound is.
Mhm.
And so then it brings back all the memories of you watching the movie and you being there, and like, were you scared, were you not scared? And then that's a way to like work through all of those feelings and all of that. Okay, it's not real, I'm not going to get sucked into the game, this is fine. And then, but you still have that anxiety, and it's a good way to, especially with like teens and young adults, to like work through those anxiety feelings. I have played Exploding Kittens
That's a
with
good game.
my residential facility, because I would do like games once a week,
Mhm.
and we would play Exploding Kittens, and everyone hated me because they were all like, am I going to get it? Am I going to die? And I'm just like, guys, work through the anxiety. It's fine. It's fine. Like, we're here, we're safe, we're all okay. No one's actually going to explode. And so then they'd get that like hit of safe anxiety
Mhm.
of, I'm okay, I'm in a safe place, nothing's really going to happen.
Mhm.
But I'm counting out 3 spaces because that's where Lisa's turn is, and I'm going to try to make the therapist explode. If I'm going to try to make her lose, I'm like, but I know how to play the game. My brain's fully developed, so I can play different cards.
I tell myself that, and I still genuinely lose. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm gonna lose like the first few rounds or whatever, depending on like the client, or how old they are or whatever, or what I'm trying to work on. But there's times where like I'm actually trying to win and I still lose. I'm not very good at it, but I love doing it anyway. So
Yeah.
yeah. Wait. We just got sidetracked talking about everything else. Wait, okay, so we know now your origin, sort of like how you got into like Disney and stuff. So how did you come about wanting to have your own practice?
So that is a story that involves lightsabers.
Okay, I am ready. Let's do this.
Now we have the Star Wars community.
Yes.
So my husband knows more of the lore.
Uh-huh.
Um, I wish I could say it the way Matt Pat says it. The lore of Star Wars. And so he's been trying for years to get me to sit down to watch the Clone Wars animated series, and I haven't done it yet. I want to. It's just like, oh my gosh, there are 7 seasons and it's animated and it's so long. And then, but now we have to watch that in order to watch Ahsoka and this and then. So now all the Disney Plus series tie back to that. And I'm like, all right, in order to get the whole story. Anyway, sidetrack. So we have gone to Disneyland and Disney World multiple times. Opened up and you could buy lightsabers. That was obviously something we very much want to do. The first time I built a lightsaber, I was cosplaying as Princess Leia in a dapper dress with the fun Mickey ears. I was very proud of my outfit. And so then we have 2 lightsabers from Savi's in Disneyland, and we have 2 lightsabers from Savi's in Walt Disney World. And they are displayed in our living room, like above our TV and our entertainment set. Anyone who has those lightsabers know that if you have batteries in them, when the battery dies, the lightsaber starts making noises. Okay. only my lightsaber makes noise. None of the other lightsabers make noise. My lightsaber makes noise. And then my husband's like first lightsaber makes noise. So I was working at an IOP facility. So intensive outpatient. I would run groups for teens and young adults with, you know, another therapist, a couple other therapists. And I was just getting tired of being told what kind of clients I had to take. Because sometimes it's like, hey, you need to take this person. I was like, yeah, but they're not going to understand my office. They're not going to understand like how I do therapy. And, you know, I don't really like being told. I was starting to not like being told, you have to take these people or you're not doing this right. Like having the negative pointed out more than the positive. And so I had talked to my therapist because yes, therapists go to therapy for everyone out there who don't know that. So I was talking to my therapist and she was talking about her private practice and about how she stepped away from a group practice and did her own private practice. And she was completely happy by it. Yes, it was hard work and it took a lot to get started, but she was happy with it. And I was like, okay, cool. So in order to make the decision, I did one of those universe activities where you put the thought out in the universe and if the universe answers you, then you know you're on the right path. So my nail tech, who is also my social media manager, told me this idea. And so I was like, okay. The problem is that I have so much Mickey and Harry Potter. I mean, the only things that I ever think about are obviously right there in my house and in my purview. So I can't just be like, okay, if Mickey Mouse shows up, then I know I'm supposed to quit my job and start a private practice. There he is, 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 there he is. He's everywhere. And so when me and my husband were out of the house and we were discussing this, because obviously me and my husband communicate with each other and I didn't just quit my job and tell him later. So we were discussing the options of what we would do. And I said, you know what? I'm going to put this out there. If the lightsabers make noise, and mind you, our lightsabers had not made noise for months, months and months and months. I said, okay, if the lightsabers make a noise, I'll know that's the sign that I should quit my job and start my private practice. When we got home from running errands that afternoon, the damn thing went off 3 times. I got to the point, and then it went off the next day and the day after, and I went, okay, I get it. I'm going to, like, I'll quit. I'll start my own private practice. My husband was like laughing at this, and I was just like, all right, I get it. Okay. So then I started talking to like therapists who had started their own private practice, and they said, you need to come up with a name. The only name I could think of, first name that popped in my head was pop culture counseling, because my tagline is helping people one level at a time. Because it's very much okay, we're like, I have used the whole, you're on a side quest. Why are we side questing? Why are we not doing the main storyline? Like you have a story that you need to complete, do the story. Don't side quest it. So, you know, with me being so involved in the geek culture and using movies and media and all these different types of things to connect with my clients, I was like, nope, pop culture counseling, that enables everything. My professional headshots are me with my lightsaber, me with my dog's Snitch. It's a big stuffed Snitch that's about the size of my hand. So it looks good in the pictures. I have ones with Mickey ears on. I have my dress Disney shirts because sometimes I do have to dress professionally. But I have shirts that if you don't know that that's a Quidditch shirt, you're just going to think that I have lightning bolts on my shirt. You're not going to order Hufflepuff.
I love that. I love those. Yeah.
And so that was my way of sneaking in geek culture when I had to be more professional at my corporate job. So yeah, then I just started looking for offices, and thankfully I found the office that I'm at, and I've pop culture counseling actually turns 1 tomorrow. Well, when we're filming this, 1 tomorrow. June 1st is when pop culture counseling went live. My husband made my website. We had one of his friends make my business cards. And if you've seen my social media, it's just a little comic burst for pop culture counseling. And Now I have an Instagram page, which took me a minute to wrap my head around, like, okay, this is fine. But then I kind of got into my stride of, oh, what's going to work? How can I show this? So I actually thought of you, Elizabeth, when I did my June post, because I was like, oh, I wonder how Elizabeth's going to like these. When I was like making my June post, I was like, oh, I wonder if she's going to like these. Okay. Like, I wonder if,
Spoiler alert, I probably would.
Yeah, I was like, because since it's my anniversary, all of my June social media posts are taking different movies and TV shows and different like Pixar shorts and explaining what the therapeutic concepts are in them. So it's just like, okay, cool. And like the pictures I came up with, if you know the show, so like if you watch The Good Place, you know why the picture on social media is a cup of yogurt, like frozen yogurt. Because it's one of those nods, like if you know, you know. And that's the beautiful thing about geek culture. And like you running into the anime person, if I know that character, I know you know the story arc, and I know I can walk up to you and talk to you about it. So yeah, that's how I kind of got started, all with some lightsabers making noises.
Well, I am so happy your batteries decided to die for 3 days in a row, just in case you didn't quite hear it.
Yeah, and anytime for the first couple of months, anytime I questioned, is this going to be okay? Are we going to make it? Am I going to make enough money for us to be able to pay bills? The lightsabers would go off. To the point we had to take the batteries out of the lightsabers.
This is amazing. I love this. Oh my gosh. Okay. I have so many more questions, but I just looked at the time and I'm like, wait, it's almost been an hour. Okay, wait. So I'm gonna like
do a lightning round. I'm totally cool with a lightning round.
Yes. So okay, so one of the things that I want to talk to you about was the whole concept of a Disney adult, because I think being part of the geek culture, I'm like, yeah, I'm a Disney adult too. But then I've seen so much sort of like negative sort of like connotation now being attached to being a Disney adult. I kind of wanted to hear sort of like your side and what you think about like certain terms that are like a safe way for us to identify ourselves, sort of like becoming almost like derogatory term in a way.
Yeah, no, and there are a lot of things like right now it's Disney adult, because sometimes you have those TikTokers who are in full dapper with the ears and the lounge fly, and yes, I do that, who have their husbands match. I do that occasionally. And they are happy that way, but then you get other people who don't understand that feeling of this is safe, this is where I feel like I belong, these are my people, and they don't get that. So it's, hey, let's make fun of this grown adult who's in Mickey ears and matching dress and matching lounge fly walking around the park. But if you go to Disneyland on a dapper day, we will outnumber you.
Right, I think, and yeah, okay, yes, exactly. So that's one of the things, like, I love hearing, like, all the fandom stories where, like, everybody got together just because they love this one fandom or whatever. They were able to raise, like, so much money for, like, a good cause, or they were able to change something. Have you heard the story about what happened with, I think it was Archive of Our Own, which is, like, a fan fiction website?
I have not.
So I don't know the whole story, but a few years ago, I think somebody was trying to say that they were hacked, so that the website had to go down, and that it was someone from like an foreign country that's not in good standing with ours. And they were like, "Wait, what's happening?" And so the government was like, "Oh, like trying to interfere, not letting us." But nerds were like, "No, hold on." And like, I think in like within a day or two, they had all the evidence of who had done it, so they could put up the website back up. We needed fan fiction, and I was like, yes,
yeah,
we need it.
Some people are really into fan fiction, and they have to, like, when Corpse Bride came out, there was a fan fiction I was reading about Emily's backstory, because I needed to know, like, how she grew up, who was this guy, how did she meet him? Like, I was reading all of the Emily fan fiction at the time, and then other things became more important and life took over, and I haven't gotten back into fan fiction, but I will read every retelling of Cinderella that anyone writes that sounds remotely interesting to me.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of it. And I just want to go back to when you were talking about Dapper Day. I went to one of my local cons last year, and I was just hanging out with my friends. Didn't have a lot of places to like sit down, which kind of sucked. But we were munching on like some snack. I forgot what it was, but I do remember very clearly that there was a couple of elderly. It was like an elderly couple, and they were dressed in steampunk Hal and Sophie from Howl's Moving Castle,
Oh no.
and they were so freaking adorable. I was like, can I take a picture of you? And then they were like, yes, of course. And it was just so cool. And I was like, that's what I want to be like. Like, like when I'm old and like I retire, I just want to go to every single con and dress up and buy all the merch and support all the artists. Like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, and like I said, sometimes my husband dresses up with me. He has gender bended as Tinkerbell and
Mm,
then gone and met Tinkerbell, and Tinkerbell loves it. We took my nephew on a trip with his mom and dad because we don't parent, we're the fun aunt and uncle. And he was like 15, 16 at this trip.
oh, okay.
And he wanted to do the 4 parks 1 day challenge in Disney World. And that's where you go to all 4 parks in 1 day
Oh,
and
okay.
you complete task. And we decided we were going to dress up as bellhops from the Tower of Terror because the Tower of Terror still exists in Florida.
Uh-huh.
And every time we went to another park, all the cast members would walk up to us because we were in cast member, like the boys were in cast member shirts. I was in a bellhop dress with like the hat and everything.
Uh-huh.
All the cast members would walk up to us and be like, you're in the wrong park. And we were like, no, 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 we're on break. We're on break. We're so cool. We're on break. But there is an opening day cast member named TJ, and everyone in the Disney community knows who TJ is.
Uh-huh.
He is a bellhop who fits the profile, but my nephew's name is also TJ. That was the only thing we wanted him to do. They met each other the day we were dressed as bellhops, and so I have Disney's TJ and my TJ next to each other. My nephew still has that picture on his phone. And they let us ride again. And so we went up in the elevator with all the cast members dressed like us. And we were like, man,
Oh.
guys, how's your day been? Hey, when's lunch again? When is our shift over? So we were just like riffing with them about, man, today's been super long, man. These elevators keep breaking down. And it's just so fun to do that when you're not afraid to like interact with people
Mhm.
like that. Like, we're going to Florida in October, and me and my husband are dressing as wilderness explorers to walk around Animal Kingdom because you can
Oh.
do wilderness explorer tasks and meet like Kevin and stuff.
Uh-huh.
We have a yellow dress. We bought the sashes. We bought the hats. We bought the ascots. I have an up backpack. Like,
You're ready.
yeah, I'm just like, okay, here's this. And then this is our Epcot day. And this is our, so like, yeah, I'm that kind of person who like plans my days around the park I'm going to be in.
Listen, now I have another question.
Okay.
What what is it like to interact someone who is not a part of the culture? Because sometimes I'm like, wait, you don't have any hobbies? Like, what do you do with your life?
Sometimes a lot of times with teens they don't want to say what they're into, and a lot of times it's teens that like anime because or I have a 21-year-old client who loves K-pop, and
Mm,
she like hides it because she's like, no, 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 I'm too old to like K-pop. I'm like, no, you're not.
yeah.
I was like, no, you're not. Just love K-pop, love BTS, love all of those people. Like the people who love it will love you, and you just need to find your tribe. The people
Hmm.
who don't like it won't. And then you just don't have to be around those people. And people who don't have hobbies, it's very hard of, okay, we have to get you to try something. Start watching TV. Watch if you're a white woman, start watching serial killer documentaries. Your blood will kick in, it'll be a thing. Like
Okay, so I do watch those. Well, I watch one podcast that I really like. I started following this YouTuber through some other channels. He used to have this other, like, he used to do biographies and stuff like that. And so I kind of like watched everything. And then he started doing this crime podcast thing. And I absolutely love it. But I don't watch scary. but I do listen to those.
Oh yeah, no, those memes are also going around about girls watching scary movies and they're hiding under blankets, but you get them watching a serial killer documentary. They have a glass of wine and they're sitting there eating a nice charcuterie board and being like, "Oh yeah, those are very nice crime pictures. Do you see the art and how the body is arranged?" Not even blinking, but they can't watch the slasher movie.
Yeah, no, it's those are scary. Wait, now I've forgotten all my questions. Great.
Right.
Well, okay. Yeah, my other question was actually, so I think maybe I had a different idea of what pop culture was, because in my head, pop culture was sort of like this, whatever was like super popular at that time. And then so all the hobbies that I usually like, those were not really popular with a lot of people. So I didn't think that was pop culture. But what is sort of pop culture to you?
Pop culture to me is that inside joke that anyone who understands that fandom would know what it was. So like everyone would know that Umbridge is the most hated character in the Harry Potter fandom, regardless of Voldemort. Like we'd rather deal with the Dark Lord than Umbridge.
I was like, well, he's not that scary.
Yeah, he's not that scary, but the rest of us will be like, we're gonna get Umbridge. Like, get her. Okay, I had a problem watching the last 2 seasons of The Crown because of the actress who was playing the Queen. Because she's also the actress who plays Umbridge. She has been in Downton Abbey, and I love Downton Abbey, and I had problems watching her in that because I'm like, no, she's Umbridge. I can't. No, no. And that's kind of what pop culture is that if it's those references that we all get, it's those memes that we all get. Like we've all seen the little girl in front of the burning house, and we all have different captions for it. And that's kind of what pop culture is to me, is that you don't have to be like a fandom of Supernatural, but you've seen a Supernatural meme and you know what that is. You know, you don't have to know how popular Five Nights at Freddy's is. You've probably heard of it. You know, even if you've never watched it before. When MatPat retired off of YouTube, the internet went insane, and there were articles in newspapers and magazines about MatPat retiring, and he has talked about it on his channels about, I didn't think this many people saw me. Like, this is weird seeing. I had to grief counsel some clients who were like, no, MatPat's leaving. I can't. And that is something that connects all of us, is we all know who Markiplier is. We all know who Mr. Beast is. You know, we've probably all eaten his candy bar at this point. How much they're in stores. Like, we all know who the Try Guys are. We all know who Dude Perfect is. Regardless of whether you watch their channels, you're familiar with that verbiage. Everyone knows what a Disney adult is, even if you've never been to a park. You know what that stereotypical picture is. And that's what pop culture is to me, is that the first thing that pops in your head when you hear Harry Potter, whether it's positive or negative, you still know who it is. If you're talking about furries, everyone has the stereotypical picture of a furry, but have they heard the good stories about the furry community? Have they heard the good stories about a brony? Because everyone knows a brony is an adult male fan of My Little Pony. But have you heard about our community? Have you heard about the women who like it? Have you heard about the lessons we get from that show? It's not a bad thing to be a brony or a Potterhead or a Disney adult, but it's the fact that you know about us, that, hey, guess what? You know about us, and now we can teach you what our actual community is. And so pop culture is that door that opens for everything. Because I know about Princess Bride, so hey, we can all talk about how Sicilians, you know, do the thing they do.
Well, I love that explanation so much. Because for me, sort of like hobbies are sort of like that gateway to introducing people to my fandoms.
Yeah.
And but it really does make me sad though, because most of the time what we hear is all the negative things, right? Like the first time that I ever came across the term brony, it was all negative. about it, right? And then I'm like thinking back, I'm like, well, everybody is going crazy about Bluey. Why is that different, you know? Uh okay, I kind of know why. But I'm like, but why couldn't it be like in a similar vein where, like, yes, like you said, like it's the lessons and the comfort that we get from, watching the shows and stuff. It doesn't necessarily have to be anything sexual or kinky or bad, for
Yeah,
most people.
I think the thing that makes Bluey different is Bluey is made for like toddlers and like the really little kids, and it's the parents and the babysitters and the caretakers who then are watching it that 30 minutes after the kid has watched the room, they're like, oh, why am I still watching Bluey?
Mm,
But that was
yeah.
different shows for like, there are different shows for each demo, for each,
Hmm.
generation. But yeah, that's why Bluey doesn't, I think that's why Bluey doesn't have that negative connotation, because it's not like 8-year-old girls fit in this bright, sunny, pastel pony world. Because
Hmm.
in the 80s, when My Little Pony was invented, it was made for little girls. And back then, gender was so much more enforced with
Hmm.
girls play with ponies, boys play with G.I. Joes.
Hmm.
And so then that as the generations go, oh, My Little Pony is for girls, because now the people who were told you can't play with ponies are now the parents telling their kids you can't play with ponies because you're a boy.
Hmm.
But now we have that blown out of the water with Bluey, and Bluey is very much a no, we're all watching it, and now we can see the stories, because there's not that Bluey is for boys, Bluey is for girls. No, Bluey is to keep your toddler entertained so you can take a nap, or so you can take a nap or cook dinner.
Yeah.
Because one of my one of my sisters like watches Bluey, and she's like, how have you not watched this yet? I was like, there's 7 minutes and there are 50 episodes a season and there are this many seasons. It's one of those things where I have to sit down and do it because I'm going to get attached. And then my therapy brain's going to kick in, and then it's going to turn to work. And I don't have time for that right now.
Every single time I'm like, I'm just binging this show because I need to make more content. It's for work. It's not for me, you guys. It's for you. I do it for you.
Oh
But
yeah,
yeah.
I'm totally watching this, anime series because I'm totally watching this show for like my clients, because I actually went and watched the Five Nights at Freddy's movie,
Hmm.
having never played the games, having never watched the games, having only heard Matt Pat refer to it in passing, because my clients were going to go watch it and I wanted to talk with them about it.
Hmm.
So I went and watched the Five Nights movie, and it was actually really good. And now I will watch people play the Five Night games. Like we have watched Mosh play the
Mm.
Five Nights at Freddy's games, and it's very entertaining.
So so I am totally gonna throw my brother under the bus because he totally deserves it. He's the one that got me he introduced me to a bunch of fandoms. He's the one that was like, "Oh, look, D&D is a thing," and then he started telling me stories, like with the that like Critical Role and other of those, like, major voice actor groups would do, and I was like, "Oh, hey, that's interesting." And then, like, that's how he got me into D&D. And then later he said, like, yeah, you should play video games. And part of me was like, okay, I do need to like get some practice playing video games, because at that time I was working with a lot of kiddos that wanted to play games, and I have no idea how to like even turn on a switch, like it was that, like, I just didn't. I played a lot of like games and stuff on my phone, but I didn't have any consoles or anything like that. So I was like, yeah, I guess I gotta get started. And then he said, like, just watch people play. And then he was like, listen, I'm just gonna play this. And then like we'll be eating, or like, if it was like a long road trip, he'll play like a clip or something of like a VTuber or something. And I was like, oh wait, hey, that's kind of funny. What's happening over there? And they're like, oh, they're playing video games. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, VTubers. And then I went down the rabbit hole, and I don't think I'm gonna be able to leave anymore. And now I'm like, yeah, video games. I should start buying and playing video games. And he's like a punk, because I know, like, so I want to do this thing where like I stream some of my like my first tries, like playing like different video games and stuff. And I haven't gotten around to that quite yet. We made some progress,
Yeah.
but then I'm like, eventually, I'm like, I think I'm gonna buy Minecraft, because I watch a lot of my favorite VTubers like play Minecraft and they have such a great time. And I was like, I want to play too. And I was like, I think I'll play. And then he bought it. And then he started playing. And I haven't got into play either. So yet, so I'm like, "Ugh." And then he's like, and then he does it on purpose because then he's like, I'm gonna go play Minecraft. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. And I'm like, one day, one day. But yeah, wait, I forgot what my point was. I was just raging against my brother.
You were talking about how your brother got you into a lot of your fandoms.
Yeah. So okay, so you walked us through how the universe definitely let you know that this is something that you needed to do. You're coming up with the on the first year tomorrow of officially having your own practice. What are some recommendations that you would give to people if they're also thinking of going down the same road?
To be realistic,
Mm.
because my husband is also he's my my billing manager. Like I do
Mhm.
my note system does all my billing for me, but he's my financial.
Advice.
He's the financial guide. I don't look at my money because then I want to buy all the new geek stuff for my office. Like, here's a weighted blanket that I need for my office and a weighted
It's a
uniform.
business expense, right?
It's a business expense. I need to buy new Disney notepads and new Disney calendars because they're pretty and shiny, but it's a business expense. So I don't look at my bank account because I'm a spender. Anyway, his goal was something that was not achievable the first month or so. So I brought all of my clients from my IOP job, which they were not happy about, but I did not have a do not compete,
Mhm,
with me.
mhm,
One of my clients I have had on and off for 4 years, who I met in residential when she was 14
mhm,
and wanted to unsubscribe from life.
mhm.
Since we're on YouTube, we can't say the other word.
That's okay. I must start saying that. Okay.
Well, that's what a lot of the bigger places say, so they don't get demonetized. So that's just what I.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard like different ways, but that's the first one. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So she wanted to unsubscribe from life. So when she finally got to my IOP and she turned 18, me and her mom basically did an I told you so dance because we told her we were going to keep her alive until she was 18.
Mm-hmm.
And so now she's the client who I've had the longest. And I was explaining when I took all my clients, like, look, you can tell them they can't come, but then they're just gonna leave and come find me, especially this one. She's never going to leave me again. She's found me, she's not
She's mine
leaving.
now.
Because I have been told a lot that, like, for some of these kids, I'm the only person who has understood them. And that
Mm-hmm.
is the hard for me to understand because I'm like, no, there are other therapists who could help understand you. And they're like, no, no, no. So you kind of, it's all patience and it's all the having realistic expectations. Because I brought 10 people over with me. A year later, I now have about 23 clients. So, like, my practice has doubled, but I'm nowhere near where I want to be financially stable, according to my husband.
Mm-hmm.
But I make enough money to where we are okay. Like, I'm making more money than I did. So a lot of times you have to, like, if you're going to run a private practice, it has to not be about the money because you have business expenses and I have rent and I have a note taking system and I have insurance and a business license and all of that stuff got renewed. So there goes my bank account. There goes my money for the month.
That's a good point to have. And I think too, depending on I was talking to actually one of my clients about what kind of lifestyle you wanted to have, right? And I think for me, or have a separate business or not, but for me, it's sort of like being able to have the freedom to choose my own schedule, to take sort of like whatever vacations I want without having to be like, you're not dressing professionally, and then oh no, I forgot to put them on. So I had this I really wanted these headphones. My previous ones like absolutely just died in the middle of the session and I was terrified. So like as soon as I had a break that same day, I was like, I grabbed my brother and I was like, we're going to Best Buy. I need something that's going to last me a long time and it's connected to my computer now so it won't die.
Yeah.
And then there were other options, but this one came with ears.
Yeah.
So I
I
had to
almost
get it.
I almost picked out some Mickey ears to wear, but then I was like, wait, I'm gonna be sitting in the Harry Potter room. So like I don't have any Harry Potter ears.
Uh,
I was just like, hey, the posters will like,
you
but
know
no,
that
I
that
totally,
that is a business expense. This is an oversight. You know, you have your husband, like you spend more money to buy Harry Potter Disney ears
oh yeah.
because it's necessary for times like this.
Oh yeah, my office has a Gryffindor poster and a Hufflepuff banner and Mickey ears and a Funko Pop of Carrie before the blood. So like, you know, I have a Funko Pop of Daria in my office, and that is for the parents because when I wear Daria's shirts, the parents are the one who are like, "Oh my god, I loved that show growing up." So like, I'm playing to all the generations here. Um, but yeah, it is very much a don't do it for the money. I I do it because there are people out there who have not found a therapist who speaks their language yet. And
Hmm.
I'm there to help someone be comfortable with who they are and speaking their language and being okay. And sometimes you get clients and they come see you for a couple weeks and then they leave, and that's like the other thing I would say is don't take it personally, which I still struggle with. When you have a client complete therapy because they feel like they're done, that doesn't mean you're a bad therapist. It means you helped them in some cases. And in some cases, when they just ghost you and run away, you're just like, okay, cool. I wasn't a good fit for them. I now have this dead hour that I can work on administration stuff. Like
Hmm.
running your own business is hard. But as long as you have a checklist and people to help you, like my old office manager who moved to Tennessee helped me get paneled with a lot of the insurance companies that I started with, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without her.
Hmm.
um, I wouldn't have been able to switch jobs without having like without talking to my old supervisors from an internship, who one of them now runs their own private practice. I have cousins in law who run their own private practice in Deming, New Mexico, and they have multiple offices and they are now certified play therapists. And I wouldn't have been able to do this without their help either because it was a sounding board. So, like,
Hmm.
definitely reach out to the people you graduated with because at this point, some people have started their own private practice because I do get to pick my own schedule. I do get to pick my own vacation days. I do get to decorate my office and dress however I want to, which most days it is jeans and a nerd t shirt.
That's what's up.
Yeah. Like, I wore on Tuesday, I wore my Muppets old guy T-shirt that says
Hmm.
uninterested on it. Like I know one of them is named Waldorf. I can't remember what the other one's name is. But I wore that T-shirt. I wore a Daria T-shirt on Thursday. Like I just cycle through my shirts, and during the winter I wear Spirit jerseys, and I've had parents be like, "Oh, I liked that one, but I couldn't find it when I went." And so it's that whole like, oh, I like that one, where's that one from? And it gets a conversation starter. And even my adult clients who are over my age limit because of accidents that happened and people not listening still, um, but I love my clients who are older because I didn't think I could counsel them, and I can. So let those, as Bob Ross puts it, happy accidents happen, because you never know which clients you're going to actually be like, oh, I'm super excited to see this person today. Hey, I'm
Yeah.
super excited to talk to Elizabeth today. This will be great. I can't wait to hear how her weekend went and what she was doing with this. And if you know they watch the same show as you, then you start off session with, oh my gosh, did you totally see what happened on this show? And it's like, oh yeah, I totally watched that. And hey, did we see this movie that came out that's in our fandom? It
It's
just makes
just
it easier.
yes, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Because I just like it. Somebody asked me, I was doing an interview for like a different podcast, and then they were like, why psychology for geeks? And I was like, because it's fun. And I was like, I never thought about it. I was just like, it's fun. I just like it. But really, it is. And so one of the things that I kind of like struggle with, and now it kind of was one of the points that really like geared me to like opening my own nonprofit and also having maybe my own practice is this idea of professionalism, what professionalism means. And I do presentations at the local. Want to come with me, we can have breakfast and then you can drop me off at the library. I'll do my presentations. You guys can come pick me up later. And they're like, yeah, sure, that sounds good. And that day I was wearing jeans and like it was just a t-shirt that had the name of the nonprofit. And my mom's like, she said, oh, see, this is why people don't believe you're a doctor because you dress like this. You gotta dress like professional and stuff. And I was like, no, no. People do believe I'm a doctor. I don't believe I'm a doctor. Like nothing has changed since I graduated. I'm just kind of like, oh yeah, like I can do more stuff now because I don't have to worry about school. But I'm still doing like the same things that I was doing before. I'm still, so it to me it doesn't seem real. I'm like, but people do, like people don't care. Um and like at one point, like the very first presentation that I did at the same library that I was talking about, uh, I had 4 people, I think, come to that, and I was talking, and I just started talking to people without introducing me at all. Not even my first name. Well, actually, no, I lied. I think I did say, "Hi, I'm Elizabeth, and I'm going to talk about whatever." And then I didn't even say any of like, "Why am I doing this? What are my qualifications? Like, why should you listen to me, about any of this?" And then I was like, "Oh my gosh." So then I posted something on Instagram along the lines of like, "Why would people even believe anything I say if they don't know who I am?" Right? And then I posted it, and one of the persons that was at that presentation then texted me the next day on social media, and they were like, oh, because you were really passionate about it and because you were so relatable. And I'm like, yeah, and again, in therapy, that's what matters, right? It doesn't matter about like the professionalism or like what you're wearing or whatever. It's how you're able to relate to that person that you're working with.
Oh yeah. Like I am so I also have 2 jobs because financial. But my other job is supervising therapist at the residential facility I worked at.
Mm-hmm.
That I've worked at for like 6-7 years now. And the owner slash my boss was so cool because she was completely fine with me coming in full dapper to work on Disneyland's anniversary and was totally fine with me doing geek groups and media groups because she has seen me in my Maleficent dress with my Maleficent ears and my Maleficent shoes. And I would bring Mickey ice cream bars, which whoever was the genius who thought about bringing Mickey ice cream bars to your local grocery store, genius. I brought those for the kids because the group after lunch was always like, kind of like, oh, aren't we done?
Mm-hmm.
But that would be my, hey guys, we're going to have a group about being passionate and being okay with what you are passionate about and about not listening to the haters. Because you have to use teen speak when you talk to teens.
Yes. Still working on that.
Yeah, not listening to the people who tell you you can't. And so then I would tell them about everyone called Disneyland Walt's oh gosh, and the name just escaped me. I know it's there. Walt's like Wonderland or whatever. Like because no one thought it was actually going to be a thing. And the first day it opened, it was a complete disaster. Like women were getting stuck in pavement. The water fountains didn't work. And all of this stuff. That's why it's called Black Sunday in Disney lore. But how popular is it now? So like Walt's Folly of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. What number are we on? 70, 75, something like that for animated movies. And you go from like the short Once Upon a Studio that came out for the 100th anniversary made me bawl because Mickey is standing in front of a picture of Walt and he's just sitting there and he's just like, oh, I miss you. And I'm just like, oh my God.
No.
But my husband makes fun of me because every time we go to Anaheim, the first thing I do walking into Disneyland is I walk over to the firehouse And I take a minute and I look up at the lamp and I thank Walt for all the magic he brought to the world and for not listening to people tell him no. And when my husband is done standing there, he yells, "Amen." And then I know it's time to move on.
But okay, but it's so true. Sometimes being able to have those moments of like reflection of how any of this came to be, right?
Yeah.
It really puts everything sort of like into a slightly different perspective, and it makes us appreciate being able to live sort of like in this time. A lot of the times I see like comments on social media and stuff of like, or like memes primarily, where they're like, back in my day we had to go to like YouTube and watch part like 23 of like the one episode of like Naruto because we couldn't get it, like there was nothing, and now we can binge watch everything, like everything we want to watch is already available. And even then we're like, yeah, but it's in Japanese, so it's in subtitles, so like we can't watch the dubbed one because it's gonna take forever for them to do it. And I'm like, no, 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 you don't understand what it was like back then. I would have killed. And I was like, most of the anime that I started watching was fan dubbed because
Yeah.
that's the only way we could have gotten it. And I was like, thank you so much for the people that work to translate these things for free for us.
Yeah, no, because me and my husband had a big problem with My Neighbor Totoro
Hmm.
because the original Fox version of My Neighbor Totoro has different voice actors from the Disney My Neighbor Totoro. And so when we watched the Disney one with Dakota Fanning, we were just like, wait, this is wrong. They're pronouncing things wrong. What is going on? This is different. And then we looked at the back of the boxes. We're like, oh, they're different voice actors. Okay. And so, yeah, no, that matters because some people are strictly like, nope, you have to watch the Japanese version because that's the pure version. Other people are like, yeah, but I don't want to go to the movies and read.
Yeah, but like, okay, but yes, it's a real thing though. And like sometimes it hits different when you watch it in Japanese, or maybe I'm just like super biased, but like that's happened to me because the first time that I ever watched the movie Happy Feet, it was in Spanish. My parents rented
Oh,
a
okay.
DVD from our local place. And it was in Spanish, so I watched it, and there are so many like funny jokes that are like specially like directed towards like Spanish speaking people. And then when I watched the English one, I was like, it just doesn't hit the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
And then, like it's the same when I don't care one way or the other whether it's like dub or sub. Sometimes dub makes it a lot easier because then I can be cleaning my kitchen at the same time as I watch those, so then I can multitask. Otherwise, I kind of have to make time to sit there and watch. Um, but sometimes it does hit different though.
Yeah.
But
That's
yeah,
like the cartoons that we grew up with, whatever, whether it's, SpongeBob or Gummy Bears or
Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Courage the Cowardly Dog or Puff and Stuff or, the really creepy ones from the 70s. Um, like all of those hit different because kids nowadays don't necessarily know who or why the Muppets are important. But because I grew up with a sister who is a Gen Xer,
Mm.
I grew up with the Muppet Show and the Muppet movies. And so, like, the Muppets hit different for me
Mm-hmm.
than my, like, Utah brother. And that just means that he's like a friend who became a brother. So he's like my part of my Utah family. He hates the Muppets. And I'm like, no, no, no. Your children, being my nieces, will watch the Muppets. I'm going, like, you let me babysit them. They will watch the Muppets. They will know who Kermit is. I don't care if you hate them. I will get them addicted.
You're like more than just for the meme.
I was like, no, no, no. Like, they're gonna know who Kermit is. Like, we're gonna watch the original movie where you can see the strings and nobody cares. You can see the wires. But that was amazing that you could watch Kermit on a bicycle in the 80s. Like, that was the thing.
Right, yeah. There's been a lot of wait, I watched I saw like a funny TikTok video that somebody made when somebody was like yelling at a kid. I don't know what the kid was, I don't know what the context of it was, but the guy was yelling like, you turn around, you go home and you watch Naruto. Like that was what they were saying. And then I was like, there's so many memes now where they're like, I just heard like a younger kid say, "Oh, look, mom, that's Naruto from Fortnite." And we're all like, no, that's not.
Oh yeah,
No.
no. When they put Master Chief in Fortnite, the Halo community went insane because there was that one video clip of the kid going, "Look, it's Master Chief from Fortnite," and the Halo community lost their minds about, no. We need to educate this generation. Like something is wrong.
Okay, so that was the other thing where like I again don't really care about video games, but I love the story. And then I started watching one of the VTubers that I watch has sometimes I just love watching the interactions between like two people because they get along like siblings, and I just love because they're so funny to each other. And then they decided to do this thing where the VTuber had never played Halo before. So the other person was like, "Oh, okay, well, I've like he's played since like they came out and stuff. He's been a huge fan of them. So he's basically like walking her through this whole story." And then like because I don't have to like level up, I just watch them do it, then I can pay attention to the story. And I'm like, oh wait, this is actually like really interesting. And I'm like, I need to go back and check like from the beginning what the story is like, because sometimes I just watch like for the banter or to have something in the background, but then I'm like, wait, so who's that guy, and he's sacrificing himself for what? And then now I'm like, well, I need to go watch and like read this story because I don't know anything about it, but now I need to.
Yeah, I actually have a similar Halo story. When Halo 3 came out, I bought my husband the Halo 3 Xbox for his birthday. And we took it to work because he worked for a very small company. My husband's a senior software engineer, because this is going to be on the internet, so I need to say his title correctly or he's going to murder me. Not in real life, just,
You've seen the documentaries, you know
yeah,
the
it's fine.
signs.
No, it won't go missing. It's totally fine. It's a healthy relationship, I promise. So we took it to work, and they like decided to have a half day, and his bosses were going to play on their Xbox in their office. And me and my husband set up his Xbox at like the reception desk. And we were playing one of those matches where it's like last man standing. And so I'm making my character, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to be pink because my favorite color is pink. And so I made my Master Chief hot pink. And you hear the snickering in the other room because they're listening to my excitement. And my husband's like, okay, cool. All right. Yeah, be pink. We all spawn, and I die immediately. And I went, wait, what happened? And the snickering in the background like is a little bit. And then I spawn again, and then I die immediately. I'm like, wait, am I doing something wrong? And the laughter in the other office gets louder.
Yeah.
And the third time I died instantly. It's just hilarious laughter. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And my husband's like, you're bright pink in a very dark room with a bunch of greens and blacks. They can see you, and they're good at first person shooters. I was like, well, this is stupid. I'm not playing this game anymore. Because I didn't understand the concept of, no, you have to blend in and you have to sneak, because I suck at first person shooters. I suck at jumping in video games. I like the video games for the story, so like I can sit there and I can watch my husband play like Sly Cooper and Assassin's Creed and stuff like that, and I can get the story, and it's great. I can play I can play the Lego games, because that's just walking around and mashing buttons and like putting things together, and
something works, right?
Yeah. It's like, what buttons do I need to press? And so it's you gotta find the thing, like you gotta find the video games that like are at your level, and then you can go up a level to like, okay, I can do this. I can't do first person shooters because I'm still doing this with controllers to drive. Even non-Wii controllers, I'm doing this to drive. So,
but it helps,
It helps if I just do this or I do this to make the character jump. No, it doesn't work that way. But that's also the generation we grew up in, is there were no save points in Mario. So how frustrated did you get and talk to other people about how did you beat that level? I keep dying. But now there are save points everywhere, and you can just save.
Yeah, well, I was talking to my brother about this as well, because I was like, hey, I just don't, because I was, again, like I watch people play like a game that they've never played before or whatever, and they immediately start playing really well. And I'm like, what? Like, I didn't see you read the instructions and be like, wait, what key is it? Like, what do I press? Like, you don't, they don't do any of that. They just kind of like, no. And then David, my brother, he was like, well, it's because you kind of like, once you start playing video games, they're very similar in terms of how things work. So, like, when you open maps or like what keys you need to press to do certain things. So it just kind of like going back to something that you already experienced. But because I have zero knowledge of any of this, I'm like, wait, how? This is just amazing. People just start like doing missions and whatnot, and I'm like, uh, how did you even see things are happening so fast?
Yeah, when I watch people play video games, so like if I like Poppy's Playtime, for example, or like
Mhm,
Garden of Banban,
mhm,
when they come out with new installments and like my people are playing it, my person being Matt Pat, when he starts playing the game, we're skipping the tutorial of how to jump and how to walk because we're going from chapter 1 to chapter 2, same game, same controls, and then he just starts going.
mhm.
And I'm just like, wait, I need to, like, in case I want to play this, I need to know what the keys are.
Yeah,
Because now that
yeah.
you've played it, I want to play it, but I'm going, but I'm going to die
The
because I'm
point
not good at
five
this.
like video to show me like all the basics of the video game before I can like actually start
Yeah,
playing. Yeah.
but that's the difference about, that's the beautiful thing about being on another level and us as like geeks helping people. Like, I have my husband to help with video games. You have your brother. Like, we all have those people who are like, here, let me help you. And that's the beautiful thing about the geek community with therapy is it's like, here, let me take this thing you love and let me help you understand what a coping skill is or what self-care is by using this character that you love and understand, and you know their whole story arc and you know their background and their lore.
Mhm,
Let's take that and show you this is how they do self-care, this is how they do coping skills, this is how they're unpacking their trauma.
mhm.
Like, let's do that. And then they're like, oh, I get it
Yeah.
now.
Okay, so I looked at the time again and realized it's been a long time now. So one thing I usually ask this as well, but you kind of said it. So are you looking for someone to sort of like to supervise as part of your private practice, or is that something you're thinking about in the future? Not interested?
um I would love I would love to eventually have my own little group practice of like therapists that are all
Mhm.
geeky and nerdy, and we're all like running panels at Comic Con. Panels at like a booth at FanX is expensive. Like, I looked into it this year, like as a business expense. I'm like, those are expensive. So like we're thinking about going to like the local farmers markets and maybe setting up a tent there, like at our like town, and
Mhm.
like starting to reach out there. I would love to supervise therapists. The thing is that I'm not making enough money for me. I can't pay someone else, and I know what an unpaid internship does. However, I do supervise therapists at my other job, and I would love to supervise other therapists. Like, I supervise 2 therapists in Texas currently because they work at my residential facility as telehealth therapists.
Mhm.
Like, but I love supervising. I realized that when we had interns at my residential facility, I was like, oh my gosh, I love talking to other therapists and helping them out, because when you're in school, you are taught, here is the box, fit in the box.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm like, hey, by the way, that box has a back door and you don't have to stay in that box. As long as you're helping people and you're helping them make progress, it doesn't matter if you do it in the box or out of the box or on top of the box or 3 miles away from the box.
Mhm.
Like, do what you love. And now one of that intern is like now in his doctorate program,
Mhm.
like working at another like residential facility. And I'm like, oh, look at you grew. And so I like talking to them, because sometimes what we're taught in school is very like, this is how you do it. And I'm like, no, 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 there are about 15 other ways you can. So like,
Mhm. Mhm.
I would love to have other therapists like with me and work with me, but I can't afford the rent on a bigger place, and I can't afford to pay people right
Yet.
now.
Yet. So, I'm
Yeah.
like, we don't even know when this video is coming out because I don't know what my schedule is like because I haven't made it yet. Or like we don't know when my brother's gonna get around to editing. So, but you guys heard it. So it sounds like then you will be open to sort of like doing consultations and potentially in the future, doing supervisory work or adding another person into sort of like your practice as well. Then,
Yeah.
okay, awesome.
Like,
So
if you need supervision for hours, hit me up. I am totally available. I have hours available. Like, would love to do it. And but like actually having someone work with me and share a caseload and share a note system, I'm not there yet.
Yet, that's the key word. Yet.
Yes.
Yes. So if anybody was interested in either reaching out as a client or to have a consultation with you, or as a potential business partner or like therapist group buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Where can they reach you at, or where can they find
you? So my Instagram is Pop Culture Counseling. Just no numbers, no letters. Yay! I was amazed I got that on Instagram. Yay for me. So it's just at Pop Culture Counseling. You can reach me there. My email address is my name, Lisa Pryor at CMHC. I'm guessing my name will be spelled in the description of the video. At Gmail, and you can reach out to me there and become a client, become a therapist buddy, become someone who wants to come just sit in my office and have lunch and talk. Like,
wait, what's your website?
Oh, my website. Oh, that's a good question. I think my website is this tells you how often it's Pop Culture Counseling UT. So for Utah, because Pop Culture Counseling is already taken by someone in Florida.
Oh.
So they got the original one, but my website is Pop Culture Counseling UT. And that kind of explains the modalities I use. It has mission statement, kind of how the name came about, how I got started, a little bit background about me and my husband and our 2 fur babies. So
yeah, and I am completely stalking you right now, and that's where you can find the email as well, phone number, where you're located, and all the stuff that you offer as well. So check it out. It will be in the description. Hopefully, if I remember to do this. Wait, it will be in the description of this video. And if you guys have any questions or anything like that, you can either reach out to Lisa or write it in the comments, and then we can. Because we are doing a panel together, right? I'm pretty sure I added you to some panels or something.
Yes.
And eventually we are. So if you have any questions, ask them now, and maybe in the panel we can address some of those questions as well. In the meantime, check out Psychology for Geeks. We are doing a lot of live events. We have a Patreon now, so you can support our nonprofit. So we can also have a really awesome mental health convention here in our tiny, tiny little town. And also so we can continue making more videos like this for free. And what was the other thing I was gonna say? Oh yeah, don't forget to subscribe, like, share the video so other people can also know about the story that involves Lightsabers. That is the best intro. I'm totally gonna use that for the video. Like, that's gonna be the title of the video.
That's gonna be the time how Lightsabers started a private practice.
Yes. And wait, thank you so much for making it this far, and we will see you on the next video, which I don't know what it is. So follow us on social media so you and I can both know what the next video is gonna be. And yeah, don't forget to reframe and re-enchant your life. Bye.